Shalom, everyone, and welcome back. Today's a very special video. You know, I do a video every Friday, and I have with me two very special guests who are joining me today. Mara Sarah, Leider, my wife, who is the Rebbetzin of the community and first grade teacher at the Chabad Hebrew Academy. And we have here one of Mara Sarah's future students, Shalva Zelda Rees, who is my granddaughter. Is one of my youngest granddaughters, one of my youngest grandchildren, who's going to be here with me also, who is helping me make this video. Thank you, Shalva. And we have in front of us here all kinds of wonderful, beautiful fruits, the fruits of Israel. Because Thursday, this last Thursday, if you're watching this on Friday, yesterday was Tu B'Shvat, the Rosh Hashanah of trees, in which we celebrate trees and the wonderful fruit, yes, that trees give us. And Shalva is herself really enjoying it. She's having a great time with blueberries and with these dates. We know that the land of Israel is known for its wonderful produce. You go to Israel today, you must have the breads of Israel. There's nothing like them. And the delicious fruits of Israel are beyond compare. The seven species, the Sheva Minim, are wheat and barley, for which we make bread from, which are the staples of life. And we have five fruits. We have figs and dates and olives and pomegranates and figs, dates, pomegranates, olives,
and we have it here somewhere at this table.
What's the fifth one there? Figs?
Yes, here's a pomegranate.
Pomegranates, dates, and grapes. Did I say grapes?
I thought so.
Grapes. So these are the five fruits of Israel. And a fruit, as we know, is something which is not a staple, but how can we have life without fruit? I remember a story about a Holocaust survivor. We just observed Holocaust Memorial Day today as well. And one of the amazing things that the Holocaust survivors talk about is that what did they want immediately after they came out of the camps, after they were liberated? It's the 75th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz. What did they want as soon as they came out of the camp? They wanted fruit. Because in the camps, they had no fruit. Fruit is something that they didn't have in the ghettos. And when there was persecution, when there's difficulty, fruit is the first thing we want because it gives us delight and it gives us pleasure. This Shabbos is Shabbos Shira. It's the Shabbos of the song that the Jewish people sang after they crossed the Red Sea and they saw all the Egyptian oppressors dead in the sea. They sang a beautiful song which we recite every day in our prayers called the Az Yashir Moshe. And in response to that song, this is called Shabbos Shira. We'll be reading this beautiful song in synagogue, and many read it in a very special melody. And we are told that when the sea was split, Mara Sarah, do you know what happened? What's the relationship of the sea being split to trees and fruit?
Well, it was very miraculous. It wasn't just the sea split once. Most people, right? You see the sea split and it's one tunnel. But in actuality, there were 12 tunnels, one for each tribe. It shows us that each Jew, each tribe has their own path across the water. Each person has their own path. We all ended up in the same place. We just took a different route to get there. And therefore, we look at everyone and say, oh, wow, everyone can have their own path to get to where we need to go. Inside of the tunnels, there were fruit trees growing.
They were sprouting right from the walls of the sea itself.
Amazing. And there were birds flying. And the ground was dry. It should have been wet because it was just wet beforehand. But God thinks about the children. And he didn't want a bunch of slippery, muddy children slipping through the sea all night crying, Mom! And Mom, I'm hungry. And so there was fruit there for them to eat. And whenever they would go to the walls stood up like ice. But when you would go to it, you could get a drink and it became liquid. So Hashem took care of everyone's needs as they crossed through the sea, just like Hashem takes care of all of our needs as we pass through life. the water that we drink, the birds, the fruit.
For sure. And you know, there's a very, Shalva is giving me some more day. Thank you, Shalva.
Usually we feed our children when our grandchildren feed
Shalva
us.
loves
That's a
feeding
treat.
me. And there's a very beautiful custom from the Moral of Prague, from Rabbi Yehuda Loy, the chief rabbi of Prague who lived in the 1500s, that he would, on this Shabbos Shira, he would send out something which in Yiddish is called schwarze kasha, which is buckwheat, and he would feed the birds the buckwheat. Why? Because of the birds, they sang the songs as the Jewish people were going through the sea. They heard these beautiful melodies of the birds. And so to thank the birds for singing the beautiful melodies, he would feed the birds on Shabbos. The Alter Rebbe explains that it's better to feed them before Shabbos. There's questions about feeding animals that are not yours on Shabbos. But nevertheless, the Maral would actually send out the buckwheat on Shabbos to feed the birds themselves. So it's
and we know what happens in the desert. This week we learn all about the man, the miraculous food that fell from heaven. And we think, oh, that was miraculous, but the food that we have is, it's regular, it grows on a tree. But in actuality, our food that we have is also miraculous. We're just used to it. They who lived in the desert and got fed with man every day, they got used to it. They lived there for 40 years. That was natural. And then what happened? Every day the man fell. And then on Friday they got double. We know that. And along came Nadav and Avihu and they said, God said that this isn't going to fall on Shabbos. We're going to make God look bad. And they sprinkled man all outside on Shabbos. And what happened? The birds came and ate it up. In the morning, Nadav and Avihu told everyone, God said the man isn't going to fall, but let's go see. I bet it did. And they were disappointed. There was no man because the birds had eaten it. All the rest of the week, the birds didn't eat it because God made a layer of dew under it and over it to protect it. But on Shabbos, Nadav and Avihu couldn't do that. And so they, not Nadav and Avihu, Dasan and Avihu, I'm sorry. Nadav and Avihu lost their lives in the Beis Hamikdash, in the Mishkan. Dasan and Avihu, and they were two rotten guys that were always giving Moshe trouble. And so they could spread out the mud, but they couldn't spread dew like God did. And so the birds came and ate it up. And so we want to reward the birds for not making God look bad, and we feed them before Shabbos.
And we'd like to finish up by saying that, man is like a tree of the field. Adam ki eitz hasada, as it says in the Torah. And the idea of there's so many things we learn from trees, of course, to have firm roots, to have a strong basis in life, which are the trunk of the tree. But it's so important also to have fruit, to give fruit. And here's my fruit over here, my granddaughter Shalva. It was one of the fruits of our labors and of everything that we stand for as well. So we want to wish you all a very hectic Shabbos. Candlelighting in San Diego was at 5:01. And we hope you'll all have a beautiful Shabbos. And we look forward to seeing you again for another video on Tuesday. Shalom, shalom.